What's up? What's up? Late night with Earl the Pearl. I had a really good set at the Comedy Store a couple hours ago, and I can't sleep. So I thought, you know what? It is 4:08 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And I'm gonna do a stream later on tonight with Rampage and Collision. I think, if I'm feeling it, and if there's a lot of people in chat, I'll do like 3 hours tonight. So this is just 15 to 20 minutes. Um, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. A lot of people are asking me where my stand-up set I posted from the Comedy Store is. Um, I was made to take it down because I was told it looks too much like a special. So I don't get that, but it's what happens when you're low man on the totem pole. They say jump, you ask how high, or maybe you don't even ask. So if you guys are looking for that, and this isn't some scam to get you go to my Patreon, I'll probably put it up on Patreon, just so I won't get in trouble. And it's unfortunate because I was very, very proud of it. And I just won't tape there anymore. So there's that. I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. I did. Very lovely party at a friend's house. And, I didn't overeat too much, but this spread was pretty fat. So it was hard to not overindulge a little bit. Um, but I worked out a lot today. Can't see it, but I have an elliptical machine right there. I do for about an hour and 5 minutes when I want to do cardio. And there's a gym right down the street, John Reed Fitness. I don't get anything free from them for saying that. I go there. I've started lifting weights and whatnot. So, um, or today, I should say, is a big sports day. A lot of college football. We've got the LA Kings playing the Montreal Canadiens. We've got, like I said, Collision and Rampage. So no spots tomorrow night for me. So try and write some new jokes and you know have some fun watching wrestling with you guys. It was a little tough the other night. I'll be honest with you because I don't want to get flagged for the music and commercials. So I'm like trying to speed through those, but then when the wrestlers walk out, there's music, their music. And I just had so many friends of mine get their channels struck for music copyright stuff that, I've been told it can be 15 seconds or under. I know Ari Shafir, he's a rogue outlaw. I've heard he plays almost full songs on his old podcasts and no one ever said anything. So I don't think YouTube really checks you out, especially a podcast like this that's pretty low level um, in terms of numbers and views, unless someone reports you. So I guess thank you for not reporting me. Um, Now I've gotten a lot of people asking me, when am I doing a full on 2, 3 camera production heavy stand up special? Um, I am shooting for January. Like you guys have known, I have been shooting a documentary the last year and a half on why I don't have it. So the first part is gonna be that, and then the next, 45 minutes to an hour, hopefully an hour plus, will be the actual special. We're not sure if we're going to make it all one big, like 3 hour special or whatever, 2 hour special. That would be pretty funny. Um, but hopefully, I mean, we'll shoot it in January, but who knows when it will be ready, edited and fully produced and marketed. I'm not releasing it just to release it. I want it to obviously do well. Um, I mean, I have some friends at various streaming networks that, hey, when you're done with it, give it to us, and we're not going to guarantee we're going to buy it, but we'll look at it because we like you. I could just put it up on YouTube, and I think Ari Shafir's last special was like, um, donate what you want. You can donate $1, you can donate $100. I think Radiohead did that with one of their albums, if I'm not mistaken, where they put it out for free. So if you don't want to pay for it, you don't like it, don't pay for it. So it's a weird thing where they would get like a lot of people watching it for free because they're cheap, or people paying $1, $5. I think one guy paid $1,000 just because he was like a super fan. So I do kind of like that route, and if it picks up traction and gets into the algorithm, um, you could make your probably make your money back, um, or obviously Netflix is most comics' dreams just because the sheer number of people who subscribe to that. Um, but you got to kind of have major management and backing to have a special do well there. I mean, I don't really want to put a special on Netflix and just have it be dead in the water 2 days later, because I think if you do the Netflix route, you can't put it on YouTube. Like you're kind of contractually obligated, and I get that. I respect that. Um, so, and a lot of people ask me if well, I don't want to put my address here, but this is what cartoon residual checks look like. Now, some of these are literally $1.99 check. Some of them are a couple hundred, some are 50, some are literally, I've gotten checks as little as 2 cents. So it's kind of exciting. I could be sitting on a couple $1,000s with those checks, or literally $87. Now, if you paid attention to the strike, this was a huge part of what the strike was about. People who are on cartoons, animation projects, streaming services. As you guys know, I'm in the jellies. At least half of me was. And, that cartoon was on 3 networks: HBO Max, Adult Swim, and the Cartoon Network. And I was the lead character. Me and Phil Lamar were the 2 leads. Phil was my son. I was Barry Jelly, the father. And I mean, you'd think if you have a cartoon on 3 different fucking networks, you could be raking in the money. And, and when it was on the air and whatnot, especially like on Adult Swim, and they air the episodes a lot, so it's pretty good. But now I believe it's pretty much just on HBO Max from the standpoint of airing, or Max, it's called now. But that was a huge bone of contention with the actors strike, was people who are on cartoons like the Jellies, and I'm sure like South Park and American Dad and the big, huge cartoons. They're like, "Where's the money?" Like, we're on. Even the new Beavis and Butthead act. Well, I mean, Mike Judge plays pretty much all the characters, but I'm sure Mike Judge is like, "Wait a minute, this whole show is literally me doing all the voices for the most part, and I'm getting a residual check for $17. Like what?" So it will be who was Matthew Modine, who was a very well known actor. I think he voted no to ratify the settlement, and I'm kind of in that. I voted no as well, to be honest with you, because he made a great point. If you would have held out a little while longer, to the end of this quarter, like the studios are going to really start feeling it. But I understand why people voted yes. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking Bob Iger against someone like me, a billionaire against a guy who makes a decent living at the animation stuff. Who do you think's gonna fold first? But, it's just the way it is. I'm lucky enough to get a fair amount of stand-up gigs to supplement the voiceover stuff and, you know, but to people who rely solely on their cartoon they're on or their animated movie or, stuff like that, it's tough. So, I see both sides, but I try and see both sides with everything. Like when I was asked to take the set down, I'm like, okay, let me look at it from the Comedy Store side, and I still don't see it. And then, okay, well, here's my side. And they definitely didn't see it. So, you know, it's still the number one club in the world. Like the set I had tonight or last night, it was really good. Hot crowd, and so that made my mood a little better. Um, and then knowing tomorrow I have so many cool things to watch, and the Kings played the Ducks today, and a couple fights. It was like old school hockey, which I enjoy because most hockey games now are like watching a scrimmage. And I'm not saying I wanted to go back to the late '70s and early '80s of bench clearing brawls and cheap shots. Well, actually, I do. That'd be pretty fun. Like I would. This will never happen, but I would love it if the UFC went back to old school rules one night, just for one UFC pay per view. It's no weight classes. Guys would walk to the octagon and literally a hoodie they got from their closet. Cab drivers. When Don Fry fought that cab driver, like he didn't have an opponent. I think his opponent got sick or something. So they literally found a taxi cab driver who was like 400 pounds. I want to say his name was Thomas Hernandez. And I don't know what they said to him, but it was probably like, "Hey, you want to make 500 bucks real fast? You just got to fight Don Fry." Yeah, no problem. And then he got knocked out unconscious in like I think like 8 seconds. It's not pretty, but I don't think the UFC will go back to you know old school rules. But I mean, how cool would that be to see like Stipe Miocic fight? I don't know, Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think I came pretty close to that. Or John Jones fighting Jose Aldo. Like that would be wild. And then in 20 minutes he had to fight someone else. So I just got through playing a few games of John Madden football. It's the best video game of all time. I have four other sports games. I believe I told you guys the last stream. I bought hockey, which is okay, but it's just too complicated. I grew up when you could just hit X to shoot, square to pass, and then I think the 0 button for to skate faster. No, you gotta do, like, all these weird things, and I don't like it. The golf game's a little too complicated too. The baseball game is cool, but it just fucking takes too long. It's like 40 minutes. I mean, I've got 40 minutes, but, like, you know, that's what I love about Madden, is a full game takes about maybe 10 minutes. So you can play 3 or 4, in the span of what would take one baseball game. Um, but they do have the cool thing about the baseball game, and I kinda wish, Madden would do this, is that in the baseball game, you can go back in time and play in, like, the old school stadiums, and, you can even play, like, with the California Angels or whatever, the LA Angels of Anaheim. You can play, like, with the current roster now. Of course, next year, Otani will probably be on the Dodgers roster. You can, like, have them play in the Negro leagues, like, against Satchel Paige and, like, all those guys, so, um, I just think it's funny that 100 years ago, African American players were banned from playing in the basically the white league with Babe Ruth, but now 100 years later, we've invented a video game, so we get to play in their league. This country's fucked up, man. But such is life. Um, I got a lot of questions tonight at the comedy store. As you know, my cousin is RFK Jr. My aunt Ethel, his mom, is my dad's sister, um, and she's still alive. Uh, People thinking he's going to be the next president. He's got 7% of the vote, man. He ain't winning, but he'll shake it up if he can get on the debate stage. I hope he does. I hope he tears it up because he's a very good speaker. His dad was a great speaker. His uncle JFK was a great speaker. So it'll be interesting to see if they let him on the debate stage. So um, I can't wait for that. He's running as an independent. So I think there's one coming up. Those Republican debates were horrible. I mean, just awful. What is it? Tim Scott looks like he's the last kid picked for kickball. Chris Christie's like, I'm the guy to beat Trump. It's like, you're the guy who built him. You're the guy standing behind him at every fucking press conference. Um, and then Vivek Ramaswamy, he's like Kurt Russell in used cars. He just says whatever you want him to say and smiles. Um, and who's it? DeSantis? He can't even run Florida. He's going to run the country. Um, and then you've got Nikki Haley, who's probably the best choice. I mean, she's doing the best between all those people. She's 40 points behind Trump. Like, Trump's like Gotti, man. You just can't take him out in terms of getting to him. And he's very smart to not do the debates because I think Haley would like stick up and be like, "You're a loser, dude." Um, but he's got other things on his plate. So it's crazy to me that he's gonna be the Republican nominee, and I think he beats Biden. Like Biden just as a 55-year-old comic, I can tell you that there is ageism in this world. So I'm not making fun of Joe Biden for being older, but he's clearly cognitively he's a little off, which is fine. He's 81. When I'm 81, if I'm lucky enough to get to that age, I'll probably be a little slower than I used to be. But I'm also the guy who doesn't have the nuclear codes. So it is concerning. And Trump is old. He's only 3 years younger. I mean, if RFK Jr., let's say RFK Jr. won the election, he's like in his 60s. So it's going to be a interesting year, all of 2024. The backstabbing, the fighting, you know, the Republicans are a wreck. Um, The Democrats, they're not exactly flying at full capacity either. So that's why I'm glad we had these streams. We've got the Dabbleverse streams. We've got, my stream, which is, it's like a variety show. There's a little bit of everything. I don't try and talk about the Dabbleverse too much or roast battle, but I certainly realize that roast battle is probably what I'm known for the most, unfortunately. Tonight I had a older lady with her son. No, no, I can't, Ross. I can't. I just have nothing to add to it, to be honest with you. Um, I just don't find Stuttering John interesting. Um, how am I involved with the roast battle? I helped start the LA show, which is still running every Tuesday night at the Comedy Store. And then I was on season one of Roast Battle, where I went 4-1 on television. I beat Jimmy Carr, K. Trevor Wilson, who's like a Canadian icon in Canada, and I never saw the show again. So that's how I am involved with the show. Um, you know, it was my first time on TV, so I was not treated very well. So that's why I don't like talking about it that much. K. Trevor Wilson, I don't know where you are located, but he is probably the top Canadian comic right now. And he's definitely the top Canadian roaster, him and my buddy Tyler Morrison. But I beat K. Trevor pretty easily in Montreal. And, before him, I beat the amazing Tom Ballard. Did the lady wrestlers slap hurt you? Oh, that wasn't a lady wrestler. That was my friend Jessica Michelle, who brought me up tonight at the Comedy Store. I'll be honest with you, though, Rocky Romero's slap did hurt me, and he held back. For those of you, it's only me and you in here, Ross. But like when you watch this stream and go, "What the hell is he talking about?" The very last episode of the Comedy Store Wrestling Podcast, I had my friend Jessica Michelle Singleton, who's a very funny comic. She gave me a Ric Flair chop, and it didn't hurt that much because she's tiny. She's like 5'3", maybe I don't know, 110 pounds or something. But then Rocky Romero, who is in AEW, New Japan, AAA in Mexico, um, he hit me, and I would say he hit me 60% hard, and it knocked me back, and I had, thank you for the like, whoever did that, um, and my chest instantly bruised, and he told me after, "You're lucky Will Ospreay didn't do it." I'm like, "Why? He's not that big." He's like, "No, but he has perfect technique." Like, I thought when you chop someone, you just go like that. Apparently, uh, the way he was explaining it to me was Osprey turns it over, which, it's, like in hockey, when I turn over my stick, that's where I get most of the power for my slap shot. So, and then who took, I think my friend Pretty Peter Avalon, he took a recent chop from the Big Show, who's, legit 500 pounds, probably 6'9" or something. And he said, didn't feel good. But yeah, that's my history. Bigfoot, real or fake? Someone just asked me that question. I would say I'm open to there being a large species of animal or mammal, whatever you want to call it, but we've really never found any bones, a carcass. So I think he's fake, to be honest with you, because otherwise we would have found one by now. Now I know some people are like, "Well, the footprints, those were faked." And I'm not like a conspiracy guy, but like, I think there are a lot of people who want to see Bigfoot be real, so they make stuff up. But I'm more in terms of Bigfoot, like that early 70s, I forget what it's called, but the very famous footage of that alleged Bigfoot walking into the forest. I mean, it looked like a man in a gorilla suit, um, walked like a man. Um, and how the hell did they have the camera on at that exact moment? So, I mean, do you think he's real, Ross? I'm open to it. Um, but we've never found a body. We've never found there's never been like not a rhino, but I don't know what's in the Oregon forest or whatever you want to call it, Northwest, that you found a carcass of, say, a mountain lion with like three quarters of its body eaten by one bite. Um, I mean, yeah, you're right. There's huge, uh, whenever I've flown into, say, like Portland or Seattle, or really over to Vancouver, and you look out and there's seems like thousands of miles. There's probably at least hundreds of miles of forest out there, but it's not like Bigfoot, if they exist, is just going to stay in one area. He's going to roam around, and he's going to walk onto a highway or a freeway, and outside of that one, what I believe was a hoax video from the early '70s, there's never been a sighting. Yeah, I mean, they could, but like, I don't think animals are that smart. Like, animals they're not dumb, but like, I don't think there's no reason for Bigfoot to hide, say, a mountain lion he ate. He's gonna eat it, club it to death. I mean, let's say, why haven't we seen a battle with a black bear, a big black bear? I mean, which is pretty similar. Let's say Bigfoot exists, would be similar in strength. Yes, yes. I'm sorry, the Patterson video. I knew it was like something like that. It's like any conspiracies. I'm open to the other side. It's probably my best asset as a human is I'm completely open to the other side being true or false. Um, you know, I mean, JFK, in terms of, did Lee Harvey Oswald kill him alone? I mean, that's a tough one because there's absolutely evidence that to use a bolt action rifle like he did and to get off three shots in the very fast amount of time that he did, it's pretty tough. I mean, it's literally, and to get perfect shots, um, I believe he had help. I believe there was a second shooter. Um, that's just common sense to me. Um, when you now, if you had today's technology in a rifle, I shot guns once at a Beverly Hills gun club, I think it was called. It's kind of like that. Was it Beverly Hills Cop 2? I mean, it was just like that. So if Oswald I'd be open to him doing it alone if it was, uh, this year, his 50-year anniversary, no, 60-year, anniversary, I think. Uh, yeah, 60-year anniversary. Um, but, a bolt action rifle from 1963 is pretty, like and even though he was, in the military, like, I just find it hard to believe that he could get 2 or 3 perfect shots off at a moving target with wind and whatnot, you know? I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think there was anyone else in the school book depository, but, um, and, it's hard to, like, I've been in, like, say, a canyon, you know, when my cousin took me and he shot a 44, in this canyon, and you definitely hear echoes that make it seem like the shot came from over there or over there. So I think, in terms of the grassy knoll, I think the sound echoed because there's a lot of tall buildings. So they might have heard something from the grassy knoll, but it was just the echo of the gun being fired. Um, yeah, I saw that. I think last night he was on. I mean, I don't think there were four shooters, but like you definitely would have seen the other three shooters. Um, I mean, I think that. uh, I mean, I don't think we'll ever know. Um, but I think based on the technology or lack of technology, I think that I just don't believe Oswald had the technical ability to pull off what he did alone. Well, I mean, you got to understand that, nowadays, I think JFK was so important because he was a pain in the ass to a lot of people. The mob hated him uh, because he was going after them. The Russians didn't like him because he was um, going after them. I think some people in the government didn't like him. So it's a great story. What a Janae. How do you say your name? Is it Johnny? Um, so it's fascinating to try and handicap who killed him because there's a lot of people who wanted him dead. Same thing with RFK. A lot of people wanted him dead. So, that's another thing where, was Sirhan the only person there? Um, I saw. It's funny. I'm obsessed with Eddie Nash. If you've ever seen the movie Boogie Nights, he was loosely played by Alfred Molina. And, if you've ever seen the movie Wonderland, he was played perfectly, um, by Eric Bogosian. They, I think I saw it on YouTube, actually. Someone was saying that he paid Sirhan because he was from Palestine too, and Eddie Nash came here from Palestine. So, um, that's something I'd never heard before, um, with RFK, that is. So, it's not. I mean, here's the thing, like, nowadays, it's pretty hard to commit a crime. Let's just say Los Angeles. Let's say I robbed, let's say I robbed a Comedy Store. They've got over 50 high def cameras. Let's say when I robbed the Comedy Store, I broke west on Sunset to my home. Well, the sushi restaurant has a camera pointed right at the Comedy Store. They're gonna pick me up. Pink Dot, which is like a liquor store, right down the road, they're gonna pick me up. Sunset Plaza, which I would have to run through if I was running to my home. Every business has a camera, 2 or 5. So, but back then, like with Sirhan, there's I think there was like one TV camera filming the event, so it's very hard to, it's just open to a lot of conjecture. Um, I mean, look at 9/11. Um, we could almost track the hijackers from the second they stepped into the airport to them going through security to the airport cameras showing them walk down the runway onto the plane. So you can't really, but if 9/11 happened, say in 1960, you wouldn't know who the hell did it because the technology wasn't there to have cameras everywhere. So, you know, it's and yes, JFK was a great movie, great cast. Just guys like Bruce McGill, who's like one of my favorite character actors. Um, I mean, what are some other cool conspiracies out there? Uh, well, I mean, I watched all the 9/11 documentaries. They were kind of. I think there was that one called Loose Change that the guy was kind of swaying me to me. Oh yeah, maybe this was a conspiracy. Building 7 was demoed by the government. And then he's like, I have visual proof that 9 of the 19 hijackers are alive. It's like, okay, but you haven't produced it yet. So like he kind of lost me, you know. But that's when you think about the magnitude of that operation, like, but I mean, like Ross, I was on board, like I was watching it, and he talked about Building 7 and the explosions and like the tiered explosions in both towers, like it was a demolition. But like in that scenario of conspiracy, I just don't think there was one. I mean, I think buildings were never meant to be flown into by a 747 fully loaded with fuel. Now, if it was like a prop plane, and the whole building goes down, okay, I could see maybe there's something to that, but like I don't believe it. There was some crazy, U.S. government conspiracy. Um, but I'm open to it. Like, tell me something where it makes me go, okay. So, but I think conspiracy theories sell. I mean, look at JFK. It was a great movie, but like it made a lot of people money. Look at, um, it's made a lot of YouTube channels get their 3 or 4 thousand Snapchat hours like that. So, I mean, it's like the OJ thing. That's another conspiracy theory. And I knew him. Like we weren't friends, but we were neighbors in Bel Air before he moved to Brentwood. Um, and like I have, because of the African American community, has not had pleasant experiences with police um, for a very long time. So, many in that community think that the cops in the middle of the night got together with the coroner, with the lab technicians, the limo driver, and also let's frame OJ. I just don't believe that happened because cops loved OJ. He's a football star. Most cops have played football. So I mean, if the cops wanted to frame OJ, they would have arrested him on, I think they, they were called to his Brentwood house, the Rockingham estate, something like 20 times over the years. They never once arrested him. Even when Nicole came out with bruises and shit, they're like, "Ah, you guys will figure it out." The J words, I don't know what that means. Oh, yeah, that was the North Hollywood, bank robbery. Um, so what up, cool boy? Um, but I mean, like, I don't think the North Hollywood shootout was, which I think is what the shootout scene in Heat was, based off of, but I remember watching that. It's crazy, man, like, these guys were taking headshots from police guns, and nothing happened, um, but I think ultimately, I mean, LA in the '90s was, I mean, it depended on what neighborhood you lived in, but yeah, I mean, I could see if you were in the black community, Compton, Watts, South Central, um, there's a lot of bad shit happening that shouldn't have been happening. But um, oh, I mean, I remember my friend used to write for Soldier of Fortune, he's a freelance writer. So he'd go on drug runs with like the DEA and all kinds of special ops, and they would give him weapons free of charge to, like, I don't know, probably curry favor to get a good article or their names mentioned or whatever. And when the riots started happening, he came over to my house. Now this is when I was living in the Century Park East building, the 21-story building that, Fay Ray from King Kong was my neighbor, and he gave me a Rambo knife that I still have. And he's like, "Here, just in case they get to you." And I was like, "Bro, the cops aren't letting them get anywhere near Century City and Beverly Hills." Uh-uh. But that's what made the George Floyd stuff, during the pandemic crazy, was they did get to Beverly Hills. I mean, Melrose in West Hollywood was like a war zone. Um, so, uh, that's what made the George Floyd riots to me scarier. Because like when the Rodney King riots were happening, they were never gonna get close to where I lived, and they certainly weren't gonna get on the 19th floor where I lived, but, Melrose Larry Green, Baba Booey. I used to see him a lot more than I do now, um, but, I mean, it was, much scarier. I mean, I lived right, uh so the sheriff's station's about a half block south from me, and they were coming up, they didn't give a fuck. Um, and it was weird because you could see like the troublemakers, the rioters, their tell sign was they all wore backpacks. So, I'd be walking the dog with my ex fiance, and, we'd see like, or she'd see it usually, like, hey, there's a guy with a backpack. Let's go over there to walk. I mean, it was scary. Yeah, I mean, it's probably the closest I've ever been to getting killed, Johnny, was, I was dating this Mexican chick, late '89, maybe '90, and she takes me to this house party in Venice. We're walking up to it. Now I had on, I forget what she had on, just normal clothes, normal colors or whatever. I had a bright red, Massimo hoodie on. It was really nice too. I wish I still had it because it was just like, it was really nice, but it was bright red. I looked like Little Red Riding Hood. And all of a sudden, this car pulls up to me about maybe 40, 50 feet in front of me and Norma. And I remember this kid in a blue, he might have had a Dodgers shirt on. They were definitely all wearing dark colors. And the guy in the back right seat behind the passenger seat, it's like, "Hey, blood, nice jacket." And I'm so fucking dumb. I literally started walking up to the car to thank them. And then Norma grabbed my hand and ran me into the alley, and like we were like running through yards and shit. Cause that's probably the closest I've ever come to being killed or shot or whatever. Because Venice is, um, it's a weird, like, if you ever are in Venice and you go by Gold's Gym, which is on, I think, Hampton and Rose, like there's $1,000,000 there's Gold's Gym, and then there's $1,000,000 condos, and then the next block is Tent City, and it's Crip and Blood gangs. Um, so, I mean, it depends on the area you were living in, Gold Boy, to be honest with you. Like, I lived in a great neighborhood, like, so I would go to, like, nightclubs in Beverly Hills and Century City and the Valley, but, like, if you lived in, like, if you were a minority and you lived in certain areas of Venice, like, it was not safe, and, um, you know, crime rarely got to where I lived. I mean, I was with the guitar player from Kiss when he got shot right outside the Rainbow, which is in West Hollywood. Now, that wasn't a Crip and Blood thing, it was, it's funny you mentioned Be Real, it was, the Cypress Hill crew, they had someone got into a beef with them, and so the guy went to his car to get a gun, and, he ended up misfiring and shooting the guy from Kiss. And it's a joke I should tell on stage, but sometimes I'm nervous before I go on stage, so I don't really think of older jokes I used to do, but, so I was the first one with my girlfriend at the time to meet Bruce on the street, and Bruce was, like, bleeding in the middle of Sunset, and then a crowd came out from the Key Club where we were watching Vince Neil, and, everyone's like, "Earl, Earl, give him your shirt, like, tie it off, use it as a tourniquet." Bruce, because he was bleeding pretty bad, and I just remember looking down at Bruce going, "Hey, Bruce, how bad is it?" And I had on, like, a $700 Versace shirt, like, I'm not trying to impress you guys by saying the actual price, but I was just like, "Fuck, I don't like, does anyone else have a T-shirt?" So I gave it to Bruce, and then the next day, we go to visit him in the hospital, and I like, "Hey, I'll be right back, I gotta go pee pee." So I go to the nurse in front, I'm like, "Hey, this is a weird question, but, where do they put the bloody clothes from shootings and stuff?" And they're like, "Oh, that's in the biomedical waste bin in the garage." So I literally climbed in the biomedical waste bin and I found my shirt. I still have it to this day. I live well, I wouldn't say like where I live now, West Hollywood, I would say it's probably 50% white, 30% Hispanic, 20% black. No, I had it dry cleaned like a couple times. It's a really nice shirt, like, probably worth more than that. Oh, it's definitely worth if I sold I'm not gonna sell it, but, like, if I put it on eBay, "Hey, the shirt that, Bruce Kulick was, shot in or shot used to help him not die," a Kiss fan would buy that for 10 grand. Um, but, Kiss fans are out of control, and I'm one of them, for the record. So, but that's a pretty rare memorabilia item. Um So yeah, there's not many shootings around here because but criminals don't give a fuck. Like there was just one of those street takeovers right down the street from where I live. So it's right down the street from the sheriff's station, and they could have cared less. And I've been caught in one of those before. And it's very scary. I was driving in Playa del Rey. I was on a date, and all of a sudden, just hundreds of cars. Just they're driving on the right side of the road, the wrong side of the road, and they're just coming at you like an ant farm. They literally are flying around my Jeep like this. And lucky enough, I had the Jeep, so I when I had a quick shot, because my Jeep's pretty fast. The pickup's not great. I saw an empty parking lot, and so I gunned it over the median and then over the curb, and we had a great ringside seat for the takeover where they just spin cars around until the cops come. But here was the crazy thing is, so I'm in my Jeep with this girl, and we're watching, it is kind of fun to watch, to be honest with you. And then all of a sudden, this Mexican dude appears at my driver's side door. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, he was obviously the lookout, the location guy, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I just live right over there, we're just waiting for this to end," and he, like, wasn't leaving, and he had a big hoodie on, and I'm not gonna say I know he had a gun, but he probably had some kinda weapon, so I hightailed it. So when we went to the right, like, we couldn't go left because that's where the street takeover was. We saw the cops setting up a perimeter, and I knew if I said this, they'd spring into action. I'm like, "Hey, someone just waved a gun at me," and then they got it on. Um, what is your opinion of the NWA movie? Well, I think there were some creative liberties taken with the movie. It's not completely factual, um, but it was a good movie. I watched it. I like to watch documentaries instead of like fictional movies. You know, it's like I love the Clint Eastwood movie Escape from Alcatraz, but it wasn't completely uh, factual. So I'd much rather go on YouTube and watch a documentary on these on Escape from Alcatraz, and that's another conspiracy. Um, excuse me. It's another conspiracy theory subject. You know, did they make it? Did they not make it? Did they have help? You know, so. Oh yeah, I mean, when I used to do stand up um, in the early days, and I had a bright red Dodge Magnum. Um, and I would pull up into some pretty rough neighborhoods, because that's where a lot of the shows I was doing at the time. This is long before I was passed at the Comedy Store, and I'd pull up, and then usually be a huge black dude going, "Can I help you?" "Yeah, I'm the headliner tonight." No, you're going on first." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" This is a Crip neighborhood. You should go on first." I'm like, "You know what? I don't have to go on at all, brother." So, um, see, I don't think they did, Cool Boy. I think they made it. Um, but that's like I'm open to them dying, but like I don't think that like I've been in that bay and the tide is brutal. Um, uh, I mean, yeah, I'm open to them drowning. Well, I don't think there were sharks in that bay. Now, if they got blown out basically into the Pacific Ocean, but I think you would have found at least remnants of a body if they I think they made it because Angel Island is not that far from Alcatraz. Um, and you know, but I will say, like I was once in Santa Monica. It's the scariest. I've been on some pretty bumpy plane rides and whatnot, but I never really got scared. Uh, but I got caught in a tide, and it was the most powerless feeling I've ever had in my life. I was literally getting pulled out to sea, and I was on a boogie board, so I wasn't wading water just with my body. I was on a boogie board, which is like a small surfboard. And my girlfriend at the time, Lois's mom, for those of you who know my doggy, she kept like waving and frantically like get back in. Like I was far out, and like even the lifeguard, like there's no way the lifeguard could have swum to me. I was just too far out. I mean, I would probably say I was a mile out, and I just started, like body surfing a little bit. Um, and finally, the lifeguard swam probably because he couldn't get to me because he's fighting the tide, and I could just barely hear him because I was trying to swim, not swim, but like swim on the body board, the boogie board. Like I was paddling straight line, and he was like, and that's why I got caught in the tractor beam of the tide, and he's like, no, no. So he kept going like this, like swim sideways almost, and that got me out of it. Only reason I tell that story is um, where Alcatraz is, the tide's out of control. So I can see 3 guys, probably not great swimmers, getting caught in it, but I believe at least 1 made it. But who knows? I mean, like, because I just don't I think you would have seen out of the 3 bodies, because bodies don't sink to the bottom of the ocean, they float. Um, and there weren't really it's not like there were great whites patrolling around Alcatraz. Um, so I believe one of them made it. Now you could go really deep into the conspiracy of there was someone on Angel Island with a speedboat that picked them up. I mean, there had to been some way they could communicate, um, but nobody knows. I don't think we'll ever know the answer. So that's another. Um, well, I mean, it really is a tractor beam when you get caught. I don't know. I don't know a lot about the Zodiac killer situation. Uh, Earl, what do you think about Paisley Shore moving to Austin? I don't know who that is. You mean Pauly Shore? I just saw him tonight. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, listen, Rogan's Club's pretty amazing from what I understand. So I don't. Pauly, I think he also lives here. He lives in Vegas as well. So he likes to move around. I mean, he's around. Like he has a home here. I think he has a home in Vegas. Probably has one in Tex Austin. So yeah, 3 black guys. I don't know what that is regarding. I hate Rogan. Sorry. I mean, yeah. I mean, like, I can't tell you to like him if you don't like him. He's always been nice to me, and that's what I go on. I mean, every time I see him, he hugs me, very cordial. How you doing? Seems like he cares. Actually, most people at the store, comedy clubs will say, "Hey, how you doing?" They don't give a shit. Um, but like not everyone can like everyone. I'm sure there's people who don't think I'm not funny. Like I had a very good set tonight at the comedy store. Like I just got into a nice zone and um, it was fun, but I'm sure there was 1 or 2 people in that room going, "This guy sucks." I mean, I've seen it. Uh, but like I used to a couple years ago, if I was playing a room full of 100 people and 99 people are laughing and there's 1 person with their arms folded, it would bother me. Like, why wasn't that 1 person laughing? But, you just realize not everyone's gonna like everyone. People love Matt Rife, they hate him. People love me, they hate me. I don't think they hate me, but, yeah, Red Band's cool. I mean, Joe owes a lot to Red Band. Um Oh, no, bro, I'm not trying to tell you Joe's cool. I'm just saying I've had pleasant interactions with him. Doesn't mean you have to like him. Um, you know, I mean, I'm a great example of I'm liked by 99% of the LA comedy community. Not my comedy, but just me as a person. But I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people go, "He's a dick," because I'm actually kind of quiet. When I'm off stage, I don't really talk a lot because I get to talk enough on stage. And I guess I talk a lot on these streams. So, it's just one of those things. And yeah, I read Artie's book. You know, I mean, there's a lot of backstabbing and bullshit. Um, no, you really don't, cool boy. Like, I'll be honest with you. I don't care if you like him or not. Like, because you haven't had any experience with him, good or bad. Um, So I can honestly, and he's helped a lot of comics. Like you can not like his comedy or whatever, but he's made probably 10 to 15 comics careers by having them on his podcast. Ari, Bird, Segura, Christina, and many of Theo Vaughn, a bunch of other people. So Oh, Jeremiah. Yeah, he was, the saxophone player in I think the original Kill Tony band. I don't know, who's in the band now. I get asked a lot about Kill Tony. I was on it 5 times. I think 2 as the Iron Patriot and then 3 as a panelist. I never really enjoyed it, to be honest with you, because I wasn't funny on it. I was literally trying to give, like, constructive comedy, not even criticism, but advice, and that's not what that show wants. They just wanna shit on open mic comics, so it's not my thing. If I'm gonna roast someone, I want them to be on my level or higher. I mean, I just don't like, I watched one clip where it was, like, 5 established headlining comics shitting on this one fat girl, and I thought the fat girl was great because she wouldn't back down, like, she was interrupting them, she was trying to zing them. Now, she wasn't very funny, but, like, I admired her for staying in the pocket and not just withering down, but, like, but it's successful, like, I'm not hating on it, I'm just saying, it's kinda like how I feel about roast battle. It was fun while I was doing it, but then the more I distance myself from it, I'm like, "This isn't a joke writing show, it's a show that's really skilled bullying." Thoughts on Lisa Lampanelli? She's kinda hacky, went for the lowest hanging fruit, but it was funny to hear a woman do it, like, there's a lot of hacky male comics, but, she wasn't the first, but, like, she was, like, to me, so bad on the roast, she was good, like, she you know, would just when I say low hanging fruit, I mean, like, if you're roasting a fat guy, it's easy to do fat jokes, the real skill is not doing fat jokes, but, she made a nice living out of it. Well, I think Austin has a lot more shows, like bar shows, and there's certainly a lot of comedy clubs, I believe. There's Red Band's Comedy Club, there's The Creek and the Cave, there's the Vulcan Gas Company, there's obviously Rogan's Club. So that's 4 clubs right there, and plus there's probably like 10 more bar shows that are really good, apparently. Um, I've only done Austin once about 2 years ago at the Vulcan Gas Company. It was alright. I mean, I definitely wouldn't move there, but, like, a lot of people are. A lot of people who, like, couldn't make it in LA or, now are a big fish in a smaller pond. I get asked all the time to go there. I'm like, I didn't like hanging out with these people when I was in LA 2 minutes from my house. I'm not gonna hop on a plane to hang out with these clowns. But there are a lot of good people there, like Tony Casillas is a great guy, and, a lot of, Derek Poston, Hassan. They should move to, Spy, Texas. Well, I mean, but it's also a good move to move there because there's no state income tax. So, I get it. Like, it's very expensive to live in LA, man. It's fucking brutal. Like, I make good money, and I'm like, "Dude," I'm not struggling, but, like, I definitely see why people move. I mean, I went to the Steelers Raider game no, Steelers Rams game, whatever that was a couple weeks ago, and, it's $100 to park. 'Cause there's no parking, you don't wanna park in the neighborhood 'cause it's a pretty rough neighborhood, and I took my 2 friends, the manager of the Comedy Store and his friend, so I bought them, lunch, I guess, and, I had lunch in the stadium. So before my ass even hit the seat, I had spent probably about $200, plus the ticket was $360 from Ticketmaster, so you gotta pay the fees and all that. So that's let's say I went by myself and didn't take, my friends, like, it's $100 a park, probably $60 for my food. So I'm out $160 before I even see a snap of football. Plus the ticket was $360 or whatever it was. So, that's for one person, that's $500, $600 to see a fucking football game. Um, what is your favorite sci-fi movie? I mean, I don't know if it counts as well, I guess Escape from New York's not sci-fi, it's more of an action movie. I mean, Aliens, I like Aliens. That's, I guess, would be Predator. I guess if Predator is considered a sci-fi movie, I would say that. Well, that's the thing, is like, there's only a certain amount of things Joe can do for you, and Red Band and Tony got all of that, and then, I think you had a bunch of LA comics think, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be the next Hinchcliffe," and it's like, "No, you're not." But, I don't, um it's one of those things where, people, a lot of people stayed there, a lot of people, well, not a lot, but 20% have moved back, um, 'cause you gotta understand, like, you might be a big fish in LA, and then you go to Austin, you're a big fish there still, like, or a little fish in LA and a little fish in Austin, but there's already a scene there, so you're now you're battling them as well. So, like, if you're a guy who says, even if you're past at the Comedy Store and you're like, "Fuck it, I'm not getting spots, I'm gonna go to Austin." How many spots you think you're gonna get at the mothership realistically? Because they're all taken pretty much. You got the Kill Tony crowd, you've got, like, Brian Holtzman down there now, you've got, a lot of, comics from New York going down, so, like, there's very few spots, there's not that many spots. So, but, um, I gotta worry about myself. Well, I just didn't know if those movies, were in the right category of science fiction. I don't know, cool boy. My mom raised me, uh, to answer a question like that. Unless you've seen it, you can't say it. So, to be honest with you, I don't know and I don't care. If he is, great. I'd still treat him the same. Aliens too. Well, I mean, that's a tough one because, um, I like the cast of Aliens 2 better. I love me some Bill Paxton, and, but I love also the cast of, Alien, I'm a big, big Yaphet Kotto fan, so that's a tough one. Um, I mean, they both stand the test of time, like, whenever Alien is on, Aliens seems to be on a lot more, so I would say the general consensus is that's the better movie. But, I mean, Alien is a flawless action movie. I mean, I love Tom Skerritt. Yaphet Kotto is awesome. So, both very good. I mean, I think Aliens, well, Aliens 2, but basically Aliens is Alien 2. I think that was more glossy and, had more special effects. I always tend to like the movie with the lesser amount of special effects, but, both great movies. Well, I'm not saying none are getting spots, but, like, I just think there's a false belief that, like, we'll take the mothership, and you guys seem to be pretty, savvy about the comedy scene. Adam Egget is the booker at the mothership. So, if he wasn't booking you at the Comedy Store, he ain't gonna book you at the fucking mothership. So, like, what do you think has changed? So, but there are also other, there's more than just the mothership. There's, like I said, Creek and the Cave. There's Red Bands Club, um, Vulcan Gas Company, and then the bar show scene is apparently very good. Um, Yeah, I mean, I've always liked lesser. Like, I like the first 3 Star Wars, and really, I love the first Star Wars, the one from '77. Obviously, it had special effects, but it wasn't, like, cartoonish. Like, you watch even, like, The Empire, or no, Return of the Jedi, which was the 3rd one. They had more money and a bigger budget, but I don't think more money and a bigger budget's a better movie. Like, Rocky, I think, is still the best movie in the Rocky franchise, even though it was made for, I think, $1,000,000. Um, so, uh, I don't know what, Dallas ECT means. Well, I just think he lost his way. He got too big. Like, George Lucas is a billionaire. Um, so I just think, he's kind of like with the Star Wars franchise, like Michael Mann was, when Miami Vice got so big. I think he left about midway through season 3 to start doing Crime Story, which is another show he wanted to do, and Miami Vice suffered. So I think with almost each Star Wars, the bigger it got, the worse the movies got. Like, I watched that Han Solo one, it's unwatchable, and I'm a big Chewbacca guy, so I really wanted to like that movie, but, well, but it's also, to be honest with you, it's very tough to get spots in LA. Like, if you're not passed at the Comedy Store, it's gonna be very hard to get spots there. There are some outside promoter shows there, but it's hard to get on those because everyone is not getting spots is trying to get on those. The Improv is, unless you're managed by Levity, it's not impossible, but it's very tough, if you're not a Levity client. I mean, the Laugh Factory, they change bookers more than any club I've ever seen, so that's another one where it's like, if you're not in there, you're out. I mean, the Ice House is, I think the booker is a WNBA player, so she's, at least at the moment, not real comedy savvy. So she's not going to care. Hey, I was on Roast Battle, and she'd probably be like, "What's Roast Battle?" So I don't know. I mean, I think, I mean, it's different for each person. Like, if you're in with Rogan, yeah, I would move there. But if Joe doesn't really know who you are, you know, you're probably not going to get in. So just stay in LA. But I also understand that, um, LA is very expensive, man. Just to show you how expensive it is. And I'm not trying to impress anybody with, my condo, but if I rented out my condo, it's 4 grand and up. 4 grand. Who the fuck can afford that? So, you know, I I couldn't afford that. So, my place in Austin, like, I could sell my condo. I put it on the market briefly, recently. And I was told I could get 1.1 for it. So that's a condo. It's about 2 stories, 2 bedroom, 3 bath. Um, for 1.1 million in Austin, I could get a mansion. Here, I've got a decent sized condo. Just to show you. Yeah, but then where am I gonna live, cool boy? You know, that's the rub. I would love to get 4 grand a month, but then I'd have to move somewhere. I pay about 1650 in mortgage. I roll my property taxes in because I put half down. I bought for 371, and I pay $435 for homeowners. They go up to 495 in January. So I pay about $2,100. So it is a good deal for me economically. I'm not paying 4 grand a month. Uh, yeah, but I don't want to live in a hotel. Like, I make a decent living at stand up and voiceovers and the investments I've made. Like, you probably out there don't think I'm very good with my money, but I'm actually pretty business savvy because I come from a business savvy family. And when my parents died 2 months apart, I had to really, learn the business world very fast. And that was in '98. So, yeah, I mean, location is everything. Red Band's home, because that's where I stayed when I went to Austin. If you put Red Band's home, which I believe he said, this is all public, so I don't think I'm like doxing him or whatever. I think he said his home is worth about a half a million in Austin. If you put Red Band's home on my block in West Hollywood, it'd be a $3 million home. So, you know, oh, location 100% is everything. You know, I mean, I think crypto.com arena is formerly Staples Center. I think it costs like a few hundred million to build because it's in a shitty part of well, I mean, back then it was a shitty part. Now that they're gentrifying it to probably to get white people to come to basketball and hockey games and whatnot. Uh, if you put that on a plot of land in Beverly Hills, and there is no plot of land that big, it'd be a $2 billion project. And that's, Beverly Hills is maybe 10 miles west of where crypto.com is. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to living in other parts of the country. Like LA, the weather's perfect, but the taxes are crazy. Like the guy, I don't want to bore you guys with hockey talk, but Pierre-Luc Dubois, he played in Winnipeg, where the taxes are pretty good, but it's fucking bone-chillingly cold there. That's the coldest place I've ever been to. When I went there to do stand-up with Rob Schneider, it was, I think, -21. No wind chill. It was a straight -21. Um, so he went from brutally cold weather in Winnipeg to now he plays on the LA Kings, and he lives on the beach, 80 degrees every day for the most part, but now he's probably paying double the taxes. So it's like, yeah, it really depends, you know, where you are in life. Like in LA, where I live, West Hollywood, it's like I said, this place would cost $4,000 to rent if my condo's about 1.1. So this condo over the hill in the valley, Sherman Oaks, Studio City, whatever, probably 900,000. Still a lot, but not quite as expensive as here. So it's just, location, location, location. All right, guys, I'm starting to fade. I do appreciate the 5 people watching. If you're all watching still, hit that like button. It helps with the algorithm. And I will be doing another stream. Let me see when Rampage and Collision. I want to say about 4 or 5 my time. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. That's why I'm so passionate about meaningful beauty. Sorry about that. Able to share with women everywhere. Let's see. TNT. Sorry about the TV. For everything you see here. Call the number below or go to meaningfulbeauty.com. Rampage starts at 4 p.m. my time. So I will be doing a stream around 4 p.m. And then Collision's on at 5 p.m. and that's from 5 to 7. Um, so I don't know if I'll be doing a full 3-hour stream. Thank you for that. Like, um, so yeah, I mean, you could like, that's why New York is, my friend in New York has literally, I think, a 800 square foot apartment, and they pay like $24. Thank you, John. I mean, I do my best. I'm getting the hang of the streaming, and I just I had a good set at the Comedy Store tonight, so I just can't, sometimes I can't sleep after that. It's actually easier to sleep when I have a bad set because I don't have the adrenaline or the whatever. So, I think you guys all know where to follow me by now. EARL SKAKEL. I'm all over. Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm most active on, YouTube and Instagram. I do tweet a couple times a day, but it's nothing, of significance. It's, just a joke or 2. Um, and then people are asking me, for those of you who are coming in late, since I had to take my 45-minute set at the Comedy Store down, where can they see that? And, unfortunately, and this isn't me trying to scam my fans or whatever, the only place I can really put it up is on YouTube, or I'm sorry, Patreon. So I'm thinking, like, right now on Patreon, I have a $5 tier and a $20 tier. I might put the canceled, it's not even a special, it was just a 45-minute set that I was really proud of. I might put that on, Patreon for, maybe a $30 tier, um, and then I'll, maybe put more, raunchier sets up there every month to, so people feel they're getting value for their money. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I work hard at my comedy, so, I do my best, and, I'm not for everyone. Like, if you like Dane Cook, Chris D'Elia, Matt Rife style humor, you're not gonna like me, and I say that with no shade towards those guys, but, I'm, like, dry and sarcastic, kind of a cross between Robert Schimmel and Stephen Wright. So, with Dice Clay and the leather outfits and shit. So if you're on Twitter, if you could retweet this or post about it, that helps. And that's all. Thank you guys. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. My old ass is dead. Good night, Johnny.